Hello and welcome to the Mike's DIY Tips channel on YouTube. I'm Mike, and in this video I'd like to show you how I made my fold-up workbench, which is now over 50 years old. It folds up as simply as this, complete with hinged legs and device. The projection out from the wall is minimal, and when you fold it down again like that, it is immediately ready for use. If, like me, you rely on using your garage as your workshop but want to get the car in at night, then this could be a solution for you. So now let's have a look at how it's made and how I hinged the legs. First, let's have a look at the workbench top itself. In my case, I've come out from the wall 450 millimeters, but not all of that moves. This piece of wood here is fixed to the wall because we had to bridge around this gas pipe here. So the hinge line where the worktop actually hinges is where that pencil is, along there. If you didn't have a vertical obstruction like that, you could make this piece of wood much slimmer, or you could even attach the hinges directly to the wall if your wall is nice and straight. But you need to think about the overall depth. I wouldn't like to work on a workbench much less than that 450 millimeters. The thickness is 60 millimeters, and I used two pieces of good quality smooth planed softwood. You need to pay for the higher quality to avoid having big knots and to make sure that the timber is dead straight. My length is 1.4 metres. You could go longer, but when you're lifting up, especially if you've got a vise on, you need to think about the weight. That's quite a lift as it is. Here's a different view, and I'll just lift the bench up to show you the underside. There's my two pieces of wood making up the top, and there's a thick batten across just screwed through, holding it together. There's no special joint down here. It's just two pieces of wood butted together. But what I will tell you is that over the years the wood did shrink slightly, and I got a bit of a gap. So what I did, I just gathered together sawdust, mixed it with glue and stuffed that down there, and that filled the crack nicely, and then sanded it off. What I'm showing you here is an end view of the workbench. There's the top, and there's one of the legs going down to the floor. To stop the leg flapping about, we need to keep it regularly spaced from the wall, and to do that I've used a piece of 5mm diameter steel rod, bent to go through grooves in the two wooden blocks. Then on the other side of the block it's bent again and again to stop the rod coming out of the blocks. And here's the action. You'll be able to see that the rod controls the position of the leg all the time. I need to clarify something with regard to my workbench as it stands today, because when I first made it, and for many years, it had two leg systems like you've just seen, one at each end, but now there isn't a folding leg at this end for the reason that we put a smaller car in the garage these days so the bench can stay down permanently, and I've got a cupboard here with the original leg fixed permanently to the cupboard, so the end of the bench comes down and rests on the top of that leg. A very important component for this folding workbench is the device that will hold it in the vertical position. We need something to hold it in that vertical position. And the device that I've made is a hinge block like that with a swivel. So when we lift up the workbench, now that's held safely in the vertical position. To release it, just swivel that and lower the bench, and then we can pivot that out of the way. If by any chance you're working on a plain wall without all these things sticking out, you could use a much simpler block system like that to fasten straight on your wall, and that will drop down to hold the workbench in place in the vertical position. I've got an option to show you, and that is this retractable bench stop. You need a bench stop if you're planing long lengths of wood and you want to stop it scooting off the end of the workbench. So you raise your bench stop like that, or I can come a bit higher for a thicker piece of wood, and then you can safely plane your wood like that. And when you've finished, turn it round and drop it back. It's quite an exercise in careful woodworking, but the principle is very simple. The bottom end is stepped like that, and across half of the width of the square hole at the bottom is a piece of wood to support this in whatever position you place it. Well, there you are then. That was a quick look at how I made my fold-up workbench. I didn't go into fine detail. I've left quite a lot for you to work out for yourself if you do decide to make one, but I hope it's given you some inspiration, or at least given you one or two tips about how to do DIY things in general. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can click on the circular icon appearing on the left of the screen now, or if you'd like to get a flavour of some of my other videos, click on one of the icons appearing on the right of the screen. Thank you very much for watching.